All right, let's talk about the intercultural communication final project. If you're diving into this assignment, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down every single part of this project into a super clear step-by-step guide so you can get the grade you're aiming for. Okay, let's get into it. And let's be real, this is a big project. You've got research, you've got cultural analysis, and then this high-stakes negotiation simulation. It's a lot of moving parts, and it's totally normal to feel a little overwhelmed. But don't worry. Think of this explainer as your game plan. We're going to turn that anxiety into a concrete strategy for success. So here's how we're going to tackle this in 5 simple stages. First, we'll deconstruct the project, see what it's made of and where the points are. Then we'll dive into building your cultural brief. After that, we'll master the specific negotiation tools you have to use. Next, we'll talk about running the simulation itself. And finally, we'll run through a last-minute checklist to make sure you've squeezed out every possible point before you turn it in. Okay, first things first, let's look at the big picture. This project isn't just one assignment. It's really 2 major parts that are woven together. You have a deep dive research paper, which is your cultural guide, and then you have the practical application of all that research, the negotiation simulation. Both pieces are absolutely critical, and they totally depend on each other. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how the points are broken down. Yeah, the negotiation dialogue is the biggest single piece at 35 points. But wait a minute, look closer. The cultural guide plus the application of that knowledge is also worth a combined 35 points. So what does that tell you? It means your research is just as important as your negotiation skills. You can't just phone one in and expect to do well. They are equally weighted. So that brings us to the very foundation of your entire project, the cultural brief. You have to think of this as more than just background info. This is your intelligence report. It's the document that's going to guide every single move you make in that dialogue. Seriously, getting this right is the first huge step toward earning an A. So, to build a truly excellent brief, you've got to hit 4 key milestones. First, analyze what happens in the first 7 seconds. Greetings, how people dress, the nonverbals. Second, and this is the really deep part, you have to uncover the national imago. Third, you've got to turn all that research into practical, actionable advice. And finally, you got to back it all up with at least 3 solid, credible sources. So what on earth is this national imago? Well, the easiest way to think about it is as the deep cultural software that's always running in the background for a country. It's shaped by a nation's biggest historical moments, its shared traumas, the stories it tells itself about who it is. Understanding this is how you unlock why your negotiating partner sees the world the way they do. It gets to their hidden fears and what really motivates them. And check this out. The rubric basically gives you the answers to the test. This is your cheat sheet for what an excellent guide looks like. For the top score, you need to include all the required cultural bits, greetings, gender roles, the whole shebang. Your advice needs to be crystal clear, with specific do's and don'ts. And of course, 3 or more credible sources cited correctly. There's no guesswork here. This is your target. Okay, our research foundation is solid. Now let's get into the part of the project that carries the most weight, the negotiation itself. For this, you are required to use specific techniques from what's called the Black Swan method. And I have to stress this. These aren't just suggestions. They are mandatory skills you have to show you can use. The first tool in your kit is something called a label. All it is a way to spot and gently say out loud the emotion you're sensing from the other person. You always start with phrases like, it seems like, or it sounds like, or it looks like. The key is you're not agreeing with them, you're just showing them you're paying close attention to how they're feeling. Here's a perfect example of what that sounds like. Notice how it's not aggressive, like, I think you feel. Instead, it's a soft observation. It seems like. This does something brilliant and invites them to either say, yeah, that's right, or to correct you, which either way gives you more information and builds trust. And building right on top of that is tactical empathy. This is the next level. See, it's not enough to just know what they're feeling. You have to show them that you get why they're feeling that way. The reasons, the logic, the perspective that's driving their position. This is how you build the kind of trust that actually gets deals done. Now for one of the most powerful and kind of fun tools in the whole toolkit, the accusation audit. What you do is, right at the start, you list out all the negative things the other side might already be thinking about you. It sounds crazy, but it totally disarms them and kills any tension before it has a chance to mess up the conversation. For instance, imagine starting off with something like this. By saying it yourself, you take all the power, all the venom, out of those negative thoughts. You show that you're self-aware,
and you make it pointless for them to attack you with those same ideas. It's just a genius way to clear the air and get down to business.
Next up, calibrated questions. This is huge. These are open-ended questions that start with how or what. They're designed to make the other person stop, think, and reveal what they're really after. The most important rule here is to avoid why questions. Why did you do that? Just sounds like an accusation. But what about this is important to you? That invites them to collaborate with you. And let's be super clear about what's required here. The rubric is not vague. To get an excellent score, you don't just have to use these skills. You need to use at least 3 labels and at least 3 calibrated questions in your dialogue. Count them. Make sure you hit that number. So now you've got your deep cultural research and you've got your negotiation toolkit. Section 4 is where it all comes together. This is where you pick a real-world conflict and write a dialogue that shows you can put all this knowledge and all these skills into practice. And you've got a whole list of 10 really complex, really interesting real-world scenarios to choose from. You can see a few here, from the historical tensions between Japan and South Korea to resource conflicts in the DRC. Your job is to pick one and then use your research to navigate all the tricky cultural and political stuff going on. And here's the ultimate goal for this part. The key word is seamless. When someone reads your dialogue, they should be able to see your cultural research in action without you having to spell it out. Are you using the right greetings? Are you respecting their communication style? Are they direct or indirect? Are you steering clear of their cultural taboos? This is where you prove you've done your homework. We're in the home stretch, but before you even think about hitting that submit button, we need to do a few final checks. Trust me, these little details can easily be the difference between a B+ and an A. Don't skip this part. Okay, here it is, your final checklist. Number 1. If you used any AI, make sure you've documented your prompts. You have to show how you were the one doing the critical thinking. Number 2, double, even triple check that you have at least 3 credible sources and that they are cited perfectly. And number 3, probably the most important step, read your entire project one last time with the excellent column of the rubric sitting right next to it. Literally, check off every single box. Look, if you take only one thing away from all of this, let it be this right here. At its heart, this project isn't really about memorizing a bunch of terms. It's about building the skill to genuinely understand the world from the perspective of someone who is very different from you. That's the real prize here. So there you have it. You have the complete roadmap, from the research to the specific skills to the final checks. You have everything you need to absolutely nail this thing. So the only question left is, are you ready to negotiate? Good luck.